Hello everybody and welcome to Kimo's Kitchen. Today we're going to be focusing on making homemade pasta. Now, if you have never had homemade pasta, you're missing out. If you've had homemade pasta, either at someone's house, you cooked it yourself, or you've had it at a nice Italian restaurant, you know what I'm talking about. It is divine. Nothing like dry pasta that you get from the grocery store. Nothing like the nicer, organic, homemade, but still dry pasta that you find in nicer grocery stores and organic grocery stores. This is going to be extremely simple to make, extremely flavorful, and once you do it, I don't think you're going to turn back. Now, the process is really simple. We're going to break this up into three parts. The first part, this part, is going to be making the dough. Really easy, and there's a couple different ways to do it, and I'll talk you through. The second part is going to be shaping the dough and cutting the dough into your pasta strands. That one's a lot more fun. Then the third part is going to be cooking the pasta, and that one's going to be a very, very quick video because it's just like cooking dry pasta, except it takes a lot less time, so you have to be very, very careful with how much time you cook it, because it cooks really within a minute, right? So, part one, you're going to need a couple of ingredients. The first is half a pound of all-purpose unbleached flour, right? Half a pound of semolina flour. And the reason why we use a 50-50 mixture of all-purpose, unbleached, and semolina gives it a little bit of a nice texture, it gives it a nicer flavor, and gives it a little bit of a yellow tint too, which I kind of like. And then 4 eggs that we're going to beat. I always have a little bit of reserved filtered water on hand because we need the dough to be moist and it can't be dry, otherwise you're not going to be able to shape it well. Okay, so there's 2 different ways to make homemade pasta. The traditional way is to basically mix your dry ingredients with your wet ingredients, which is your eggs and a little bit of water, on your counter, so it needs to be supremely clean. And basically what you do is you mix the dry ingredients together, you create a well right in the middle, you take your eggs that you've beaten lightly, and you sort of drizzle them in and sort of beat, the flour and the semolina with the eggs, right, until it starts to form dough. To be honest, I kind of like the KitchenAid method because if you have a KitchenAid at home, it's a workhorse, and it's easy and it's a lot cleaner than messing up your entire kitchen counter with a messy dough. So we're going to go with the KitchenAid method today. Perhaps in another video I can show you how to make it on your tabletop in case you don't have a KitchenAid mixer. But these are really handy for a number of different things. Doughs, breads, all kinds of things, right? So this is going to be fast. So let's do that. We're going to use a paddle attachment. KitchenAids typically come with 3 different types of attachments: a whisk, a paddle attachment, which is what I'm attaching now, and a dough hook. We're going to use a paddle attachment. I'm going to lightly beat these eggs. And a little hint, when you're making eggs for yourself or your family, making omelets, you're making scrambled eggs, don't overbeat the eggs, please. Just beat them enough that they're sort of mixed, but you'll see some of the egg whites that are not completely mixed in. You don't want to overbeat the eggs because you've overworked the eggs, and we don't want to overwork the eggs, right? So the first thing we're going to do, and what I'm going to do is unhook our bowl, is we're going to mix the dry ingredients together. So we're going to put the dry ingredients in. That's the flour, the semolina, right? Those go in together. Drop the bowl back in. Lock it. Oops. Nope. You're not locked. Okay. Now you're locked. Great. Drop the paddle attachment, lock the mixer, and let it go effectively until it's mixed. It's just going to take a few seconds to mix that all up. I think that's pretty well mixed. Let's see if the camera can capture this. If I can get the bowl out, it would be a nice touch. Maybe I can't get the bowl out. The other way. Okay, I don't know if the camera can catch this, but It's pretty well mixed. Okay, so lock that back in. Now, lock your mixer, turn it to the lowest setting. Actually, you can go 2, right? And slowly drizzle your eggs in. The eggs will start to mix, the dough will start to get crumbly. Slowly drizzle it in. Let her go. Let it mix. You're going to hear the paddle attachment make a weird noise. That it's struggling a little bit as the dough sort of starts to form and become less dry. So I just do a little bit at a time. Now it's getting pretty crumbly. That's good. Eggs are mixing in. Just do a little bit at a time. The rest of it in. Okay, so now the dough's crumbly, but it's not sort of gelling yet. And this is where the water comes in. So, just drizzle a little bit of water. And let it kind of bind. There we go. Now it's starting to bind. So now what I'm going to do is maybe, no, that's too much. Let's just keep it at this speed. Alright. So this is what happens. This is great. Because this is what happens when you don't lock this well enough, right? It's going to pop out. Okay. So the dough, oh, beautiful. Now this dough is fantastic. Alright. First, let's do this. Let's throw some flour on, and it's going to help us knead this dough. So this dough right now, if you look at it, it's pretty sticky, right? You put it down, and it sticks to it. Now, you're not going to have any residue back. You may have a little bit of residue on your counter, right? Let's get this out of the way. But you can feel it, it's pretty sticky. So now, what we need to do is knead the dough. So, to knead the dough, super simple. Just make sure you've got some flour on your countertop. So you fold towards you, and then you push out. And you can use your body. Fold towards you, push out. You can do this a few times until you find that the dough is pretty smooth, right? And you can relatively easily form it into a bowl. A ball. Sorry, not a bowl. That's a bowl. A ball. So we'll just do this a few times. I don't want to over knead the dough, but I do want it to be somewhat smooth. Right? Oh man, this is beautiful. To be honest, my first attempt didn't turn out very well, so I have to reshoot this video. But, hey, you know, sometimes, you know, it doesn't come out exactly right, especially when you're on camera. So, alright, so this is gorgeous. So I'm gonna just, you know, kind of roll it, you know, grab some of this flour, turn it into a ball, and oh, look at that. That's gorgeous. So if you see this, this is what you're looking for, right? That's what you're looking for. It's pretty sort of kept together. It's not breaking. It's still a little sticky. I mean, it doesn't look as sticky now. If you drop it and you can feel it, it's a little bit sticky. It's not as sticky because we've got some flour on it now, but I think it's wet enough that this is going to be great. So, just turn it into a bowl. And then what we need is a little bit of plastic wrap because we're going to need to let it rest for about an hour. Okay? So take some plastic wrap, put it down. And I really sometimes don't like working with plastic wrap because it's kind of a pain. Sticks, well, that's the whole point, right? Wrap it nice and tight. And that's it. Just let it sit on your counter for an hour. The next step is going to be really using this guy with some pretty cool attachments that you can buy with it to now shape the dough into your sheets and cut them into strands. You can do all kinds of different shapes and stuff. There's different attachments. I'll show you all of those. But to be honest, I don't like using them. When I do make homemade pasta, I just like using the tabletop and my knife, and I cut fettuccine strands, and they're not perfect, but that's the fun of dry, homemade pasta. It's not going to be, store-bought, machine-pressed, perfect pasta. It's just going to be a little bit, fun to look at. So that's what we're going to do in part 2. So stay tuned, and I'll be back in about an hour.